Good morning. My name's Christina and I'm a homeschooling homesteading mom of 3, and I want to talk to you today about My Father's World: Exploring Countries and Cultures. I am currently working out of the 2nd edition, but My Father's World recently announced that they are releasing a 3rd edition, and this one's going to be discontinued. And for those of you who are considering, if you've already have this, you might be wondering, should I upgrade to the 3rd edition for the next round? Because those of you who don't know, the children who plan to stick with My Father's World in 2nd or 3rd grade, they'll start exploring countries and cultures, and then when they get in 8th grade, they'll do it again before they go on to their high school courses. And the reason for that is this is a geography unit, so they learn world geography, they learn about the cultures of the world, and it sets a good foundation for studying world history. So I wanted to talk to you today about what is changing in Exploring Countries and Cultures based off of the information that they've provided via email and on their website. So this teacher's manual that you will receive when you order it, the 2nd edition is being updated to the 3rd edition. So the information inside is going to correspond with some of the new materials and obviously omit the things that are not going to be included. So I made myself some notes down here, so if you see me looking down, I apologize. Just want to make sure I'm getting you all the info I planned for you. Alright, so one of the first things mentioned is that they will no longer include the text maps and globes. This information is going to be shifted to the teacher's manual, to the student sheets, and to a new book called Come to the Table, which is published by My Father's World. Now, this text, Maps and Globes, which is used in the 2nd edition, goes over things like the invention of the map and vocabulary such as latitude and longitude and equator and that type of thing. It is a pretty kid-friendly book. However, I would say that the illustrations and the just like even the cover of the book, it can feel outdated, but it's really, you know, I'm not worried about outdated looking stuff so much myself. This text is used in the first 2 weeks of the curriculum, and honestly, those 2 weeks are reported as like the most dry. So anyone that you talk to about My Father's World: Country and Cultures who is just getting started, a lot of times they'll be like, oh my gosh, does it get better? I've heard such good things about this curriculum, and then the first couple weeks are just so long. And I think a part of that reason is because you are taking bit by bit of this book and breaking it up over 2 weeks and really kind of going in depth with that information. So I think that omitting this and incorporating it into a fresher text is probably going to be a pretty welcome change for a lot of families. All right, another resource that is being phased out is the text Another Trip Around the World. One point I failed to mention on why the publisher may be phasing out texts is that you are really dependent on the publishers of these books to keep printing them. So if these were published in 2006, and they're information that are largely geography based, so political maps change, populations change, things like the country's religion might change, so this information can easily be outdated. These are also secular texts, so on occasion you might come across something an activity that you may not want your children participating in because it's maybe a cultural thing that Christians wouldn't normally participate in. These were both published in 2006 and are about $15 each. Let me see, I wrote it down. Okay, these are $15.99 each. So it could be that by taking some information and ideas and putting it into a different text could potentially save you money as the purchaser by omitting these. In addition to having some basic information about the countries, it has a lot of just ideas for different fun activities like dressing up or recipes and making art that might go along with, you know, cultural celebrations. So in addition to those things, it also has like fun puzzles, a lot of crossword puzzles. There aren't actually a lot in the book, but there are crossword puzzles and word searches and that type of thing, and my children have really enjoyed that, and they are currently in 3rd and 5th grade. I will say one thing that's nice about these books, there are 2. One thing that's nice about these books is that they do provide a lot of choices for activities, so it might be like pick one of these things, And that's kind of nice as a parent to just kind of have some flexibility with the materials that you have in the house. However, for people who are planners, if the new text is more specific because it's like a directed curriculum, if the new text produced or published by My Father's World is more specific, then maybe those activities might be more limited. But on the other hand, that could be a good thing, because if you're trying to gather all the materials you'll need for the entire year at the beginning of the year, as some people like to do, it might be less to try to think about. You just kind of get your stuff and you're good to go. The next thing that is going to be omitted in future editions is Cameron Townsend. It is a biography and a read aloud. I'm holding up a book of David Livingstone. It's one in the series, and I personally have found that this entire series has been fantastic, and the only one that we don't have is Cameron Townsend. And the only reason for that is I bought my texts used, and it just wasn't in the incorporated bundle, and I was just like, oh well, and we just did without it. And we really didn't miss it. It might have been during a busy season where I was like, oh well, we just don't have a read aloud to do, and that was okay with us, or I could have supplemented it with something else. I can't remember at this time, but we don't have it. I know that, and I know that we never read it. However, of the people that I have spoken with about Cameron Townsend, they said that they actually loved the Cameron Townsend book, and it was their favorite in all of the books that were read aloud. But you know, I could say that about Nate Saint or Gladys Allward. I mean, there were so many good read alouds. It's hard to pick, and everybody's going to have a favorite. However, I'm not sure what they might do, because like I said, that book is read. Let me check. I made a note here of how long it takes. I told you it was 2 weeks. It's actually read over a 3-week period, so I'm not sure what they're going to replace that with. There is a book called Kingdom Tales, which is a read aloud sometimes in this curriculum. Again, I don't have that one, so I'm not sure if all the stories in Kingdom Tales were read throughout the year, or if it's something that they're just going to go ahead and have you read during that time. Another possibility is that if the books like Come to the Table by My Father's World are being published, perhaps they're going to have more information about Cameron Townsend in there. Another one being replaced is the book Global Art. This is another book that is secular, and some activities are recommended to be skipped for that reason, because they might be cultural activities that Christians would not participate in, and this is a Christian curriculum. I think that with Pinterest, this book could easily be skipped if you don't mind to look stuff up and just, you know, do your own thing for art. I don't think that this is necessary, but I'm probably not going to make that effort, so it's really nice just to be like, show me what I need to do, and just have that resource available. So one of the activities that we did is the eraser signature activity, and it was just an easy little thing where the kids made their own piece of art, and then took an eraser and carved their initials into it and stamped it with some red ink onto their thing. And it is said that that is done in China. It says, did you know a Chinese artist finishes his works instead of signing the work with a pencil, pen, or paintbrush by pressing his name seal on it, making a name print in red ink? Around the year 600 BC, these seals were sometimes stamped in clay tiles, and prints were made from them, probably the first type of wood block developed. So it gives information about the activity, and it also has a globe with a star that shows where this activity would be done. So I will say that this book has a very wide range of materials that you might like to use. So if you do plan on using the Global Art book, you definitely want to look ahead a week or two to see if there's anything that you might want to order off Amazon to help support it. In this case, I didn't need to order anything extra because I already had extra erasers at the house, and we used a little bit of watered down red paint. I didn't have a red ink pad, but there are definitely ways to work around some of the materials, but you may want to look ahead. I liked this book, but I think that it can be replaced. Oh, and the price on this book was $19.95, $20. If this information is incorporated into another text, then, or you know, if activities like this are incorporated into another text, then you might save some money, but if you have to buy a separate book kind of like this, I'm not sure you're really going to beat that. All right, We Sing Around the World has in it a CD and a booklet. This is something that is in the 2nd edition, but they are phasing out for the 3rd edition. There are some mixed feelings on We Sing. I think that if you have a young child, or if you're going through the cycle for the first time as a 2nd or 3rd grader, I think that this is wonderful. It's really geared toward younger children. I don't see an 8th grader getting very excited about this. I personally like it. I've got a 3rd and 5th grader. My kids enjoy it, but I imagine in a few years, if I brought this out, my eldest would be rolling her eyes at me. But it does feel a bit Americanized also, so I think that incorporating more authentic music from the regions would be more appropriate. You can find the We Sing songs on YouTube. And actually, if you follow Ashley Penn, she has already got these all on playlists by week. She's a fantastic resource, by the way. So you don't really need this CD. However, the thing I like about it is it does come with a book, and the book shows the flag. You get your lyrics, and there's always information about the country down below, and it usually has a child dressed in something traditional for that area. So I think that the book is a wonderful accompaniment to the CD, and I'm very glad that we have it. Now, since My Father's World is getting rid of We Sing, they are going to replace the music lessons with recommended music from the library or online. Now, I will say in the back of the text, if you're unfamiliar with My Father's World, in the back of the text for each country that you study, it has for you wonderful recommendations and several recommendations. So for example, for Japan, it tells you that it's weeks 27 and 28. It has Japan informational texts. They put asterisks for the texts that are most recommended, the ones they enjoyed the most. And so these are all informational. Then it comes on over to picture books. And then down at the bottom, it has fiction books, and those are typically more like the chapter books for readers that you can include in your book basket. So I think that the selection that they provide or recommend, not provide, but the selection they recommend for book basket or independent reading is wonderful, and I expect the same for the music selection. Let's see, is there anything I missed on my notes that I wanted to share with you? Oh, one caveat would be that they provide a lot of choices for your independent reading and your book baskets, a lot of recommendations. However, in my experience, my libraries don't typically have most of the books. So the idea of being able to go online to find music, their recommended music, I think is wonderful, because I don't think my library is going to have, you know, the national anthem or something like that for every country, which, by the way, is something we normally look up even though it's not necessarily recommended in the text. All right, so my son is currently working from this book. He is not going to like it if I remove his pencil, so I have to make sure I remember where it goes because he uses it as his bookmark. But we really enjoy, or I really enjoy, for my 3rd grader, the Book of Animals. My 5th grader does not use the Book of Animals. I actually have her work on something else instead that's unrelated to My Father's World. But here we've got the complete Book of Animals. It's recommended for grades 1 through 3, and My Father's World is making this rather a recommended activity for 2nd and 3rd graders. It will now be a required activity for 2nd and 3rd graders. I have to ask though, I mean, when you see, oh, it's going to be required, you know, just remember, as a homeschooling family, you know, you are only bound to what your mama heart wants and what the government around you says that you need to do to show that you are not depriving your children of an education. So the thing that I really like about this book is it provides information on animals, and it's usually a short passage with some questions that follow. a shorter passage with some questions to follow. And I think it's wonderful for reading comprehension and also getting that information about animals in the different regions of the world. My sons really enjoyed it, and I will say there are also some pull-out books, and I think most of the pull-out books have already been pulled out of here, and I've got them in a different location, but they'll have books in here that are about, I don't know, 8 pages long or so, written on probably a second grade level with information about animals from a certain region, and we just include those in our book basket. Another thing that's in here, in addition to talking about the animals of the different continents, it actually has some other themes, such as insects, reptiles, favorite pets, farm animals, science and animals, animals, facts, and fun. So, for example, we did some invertebrate, vertebrate activities and that type of thing, in addition to simply learning about the animals in different areas. But I like this text. I don't know why you wouldn't want your kids to do it unless it just felt like busy work, because it could. But I think that my son enjoys it, so we do it. Better put my son's pencil back in. Found it. All right, the materials that they are phasing out will be available online for purchase for a limited time. As long as they have it, they're willing to sell it to you. Those, again, are Maps and Globes, A Trip Around the World, Another Trip Around the World, Cameron Townsend, and Global Art. So you can still get those and any enrichment items that might go with those online. Now, your student sheets. So in your student notebook that you get, also here it says student notebook, I've seen it said student sheets. You get things like how to study a spelling word, which we don't do. You have globe or world maps that you might label with deserts or rivers or whatever it is that you're studying of the world, where they can be found. You have printables that correspond with the science activities. All right. You have activities that correlate with the history activities, or I'm sorry, with the history lessons. And most predictably, you have your country sheet. So this one says Russia. It has John 3:16 in Russian. It has the Russian flag. It locates it on the world map, and it has a little fellow that you color, a child dressed in traditional clothing. So these are things that you would normally find in the student sheets. These are going to be updated to go with the teacher's guide. The 3rd edition student sheets will not be compatible with the 2nd edition teacher's manual, and the 2nd edition student sheets will not be compatible with the 3rd grade teacher's manual. You need to make sure that you have the right student sheets to match the teacher's manual that you are working out of. Now, it says that 2nd edition student sheets in their email and on their website. Let me tell you what it says. 2nd edition student sheets will be available for purchase through the end of 2022. Orders will need to be placed by phone. I'm going to go ahead and put the phone number down here for you. It is 573-202-2000, and their office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It also says in the email and online that the teacher's manual will change to be compatible with changes in resources and student sheets. The basic format will not change. So if you've seen it and loved the format, good news, that's going to stick around. And it says after the 3rd edition is released, you cannot buy it at the date that I am pushing out this video, which is going to probably be March 14th, March 15th. So at this time, you can't buy the new 3rd edition just yet. But after the 3rd edition is released, a special upgrade bundle will be available containing a 3rd grade edition teacher's manual and student sheets, the World of Art, and Come to the Table. So if you already have the 2nd edition, perhaps you purchased it during their sale here recently, or you've already used your tax dollars to get your materials, or you've used it in previous years. If you want to upgrade, you don't have to buy an all new package and sell off the old one. You can simply upgrade. So, and of course that's going to be at a fee. I'm not sure what it would be. Let's see, we've got 1, 2 books and a teacher's manual and student sheets. I'm gonna guess it's probably gonna be somewhere between $70 to $100 to upgrade that, but maybe more, honestly, because the teacher's edition is kind of a lot of effort put into it, right? So if that's something that you want to do, you should be able to do that
online, but if you would like to just purchase the second edition student sheets and they're no longer available online, call that phone number 573-202-2000. So I hope that helps to clear up some things about what's changing between the second edition and third edition of My Father's World, Exploring Countries and Cultures. And if you found this helpful, please subscribe, because I really enjoyed My Father's World, and if you're watching this video, you're probably going to come along on My Father's World journey with me. And I've got other things about homeschooling that I drop from time to time that you may enjoy as well. Thank you for coming along. Bye.